Yo, 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 what's up, y'all? It's your boy me, Mike in the building. Swish for real. I got my co-host with me as always, Boogie Bob. How you living, man?
Doing good, doing good. Gonna have some cool weather tomorrow. We might have had our last 100-degree day for the summer. So
Yeah.
get get that lawn mowed one last time, then start doing some of the other stuff so I don't have to mow every week. Now I can do the other yard projects. So,
I
good.
hear you. I this summer, I really haven't had a chance to really get out there this summer because I work in the office most of the time, so I haven't really felt the effects of the summer heat. But looking at the temperature wise, I haven't seen a lot of 100 days this summer.
We've only had only seven. One of them was the other day, but I tell people it's not the high temperature of the day, it's how fast does it get to 100.
Nah,
That's when you
facts.
feel it. If it only
Facts.
gets to 100 at like 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and then when the news and it's still 90 degrees, but it's been 90 degrees for 16 hours out of 24. That's when you feel it.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's
Mm.
just people
We
you
haven't
already know
had
we're in
many of those.
Texas. Yeah, Texas is one of those states that either you're gonna get some really good hot weather or some really cold weather. It just we get all seasons here in Texas, which is crazy.
So how was your Labor Day?
Labor Day, what did I do this Labor Day? I pretty much because my grandson, we're keeping him for a while. He's 3, so he'll be with us until November. So if you hear a little kid running in the background, that's him running around the house. So we got him till November. His parents are both in the Navy, and they're in the midst of moving from Washington State to Oklahoma. So they're going to be in Oklahoma for a few years while they're doing their schooling through the
What,
Navy. So.
Tinker Air Force Base?
I have no clue. I'm pretty sure that's
It's
the one,
probably
but
if they're going to Oklahoma City, or it's either that or Fort Sill
I
in
don't even.
Alvis.
I have no clue. I know they said Oklahoma, and it's good because they're closer because we don't have to catch any flights to Washington anymore, which I ain't mind, but
Yeah,
it was pretty
yeah, it's
cool.
a 3-hour drive. That's not bad.
Yeah, no doubt. Anywho, let's get talking about one of these guys that had a stellar college career, man. I wasn't a real big fan of his in the beginning, but when he went to New York is when I kind of started liking him a little bit more. And then we're talking about Carmelo Anthony, the Syracuse assassin is what they used to call him. Well, that's what I called him. Bob, we're going to do a deep dive on Mr. Carmelo Anthony because he is going to be inducted, I believe, into the NBA Hall of Fame coming up. What are your thoughts on his career? And what are some of your favorite points about him when it comes to his just him in general?
But I think one of his nicknames was Sweetness, Home
Yeah,
Sweet. But the very first thing I put down on my notes was 2003 took Syracuse to the national championship,
mm-hmm.
and
And when he a freshman?
he was a freshman, and he was the MOP of the tournament. Uh,
Mm,
the reason I remember it is because they beat Kansas in the final, but they beat Oklahoma in the semifinal and Kansas State in the to get to the Final Four. So they went through the number one, two, and three teams in the Big 12 uh, to win it. They weren't even ranked when they made the tournament. So that is the first thing I wrote down. Uh, of course, I kind of I think I identified Carmelo when he was at Denver because after watching him destroy the Big 12 teams, including my
mm-hmm.
son, is he had no holes in his offensive game. He's 6'8", 6'8", 6'9", but he could post you up. He could go to the rim. He could hit a mid range. He could hit a three. He could dribble drive by you. They just most players they've evolved into a well-rounded player, and his first year in the NBA when I watched him with Denver, like there's no holes in his game. There's like which makes it very hard to stop a player that's got more than one move, uh, simply because they're well rounded. Uh, the other thing I noted is he got three gold medals in the Olympics: 2008, 2012, and 2016. So they talk about the dream team and redeem team and a whole bunch of other, but people forget that he was kind of like the Kevin Durant of that time period.
Hmm.
So I know you like career, you love the stats I always put out. His career stats were 22 and a half points a game, 6.2 rebounds a game, and 2.7 assists. So the only knock on him in his offensive game was the ball got stuck. You
Yep.
know, it didn't move, and one of the reasons why Denver traded him. He played 19 seasons. I didn't realize he'd played that many. He made 266 million.
Mm.
He was second in Rookie of the Year for 2003, 2004. 10-time All-Star. 6 times he had voting shares for MVP. 6 times All NBA, but he never made the first team. And he had one Most Improved Player voting share in 2021-22 season. So, the Carmelo Anthony that played for the Thunder, uh, they traded some players to get him. That New York Knicks team that had Amari Stoudemire with him, uh,
Hmm.
was supposed to be, slash through the East and never quite lived up. Most people, unless the Laker fans will know this, but he played his last season with the Lakers.
Yeah.
So
And wasn't that right before the pandemic, wasn't it? Like no, there wasn't. That was
it
he
was
was in
after he
Portland.
played.
Yeah,
He played one more season, 2 more seasons after the pandemic.
yeah, because he played in Portland during the pandemic, which was the 2020 season.
And
And
look,
one notable thing about Carmelo Anthony, he was injured the time that Linsanity was one of those times in NBA history that Linsanity lit it up. And when Carmelo Anthony came back, that Linsanity vibe just went way down. But
yeah,
I don't know why they didn't really play well together. I think Lynn probably needed to be the captain of that team if they wanted to just kind of just push it to where these two can coexist. But I know Carmelo Anthony was not trying to have
yeah,
that.
he
That
blew it. He played like 6 games and then blew his knee out. So his last after the Knicks, he played for Oklahoma City in 2017-18. I'm looking it up right now.
Mhm.
18 and 19, he played for Houston Rockets. Uh, nine, 2019 and 20. So that's the pandemic year. He played for Portland.
Mhm.
The year after the pandemic, he played for Portland, and in 21-22, he played for the Lakers.
Yeah. So, which team, if you had to choose, which was mostly his stellar performances? It's two I have in mind that he played for, but
Hands down, Nuggets would be first.
yeah,
And I mean, if the Knicks had done something when he was there with Stoudemire, I uh might have that up there. But to me, it's the Nuggets hands down. And if you remember, Utah traded Deron Williams that same summer.
yeah. Did he go to Dallas?
He went to Brooklyn.
Oh, Darren Williams.
Darren Williams.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I know he was in Dallas at one point in time, wasn't
Yeah, we got him as a free agent after he done busted up his ankles and stuff.
Yeah. I think with Carmelo's career, you can say that he was in the same breath as LeBron, but LeBron had more help when it comes to being able to get to championships in the playoffs a lot. Carmelo, he had a little bit of help, but again, like you mentioned earlier, he wasn't the one that was going to get that ball moving like it's supposed to move. But he did have a stellar career offensively, but defensively, I didn't see anything that really whammed me or wowed me when it comes to Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, and I don't think any of the teams he played for really asked him to be the defensive uh, juggernaut. You know,
Mhm.
he was the wing guy that was going to get you a bucket. You know, I mean, he played a power game, but he wasn't a power forward in my mind. He was a small forward that they could play down low or play outside. Uh, he was very versatile. He was a Swiss Army knife when it came to offense.
And if you had to compare him to anyone in NBA history, who would you compare him to? Because I have James Worthy in mind when it comes to the type of player.
That's probably a good comp. I didn't like the Lakers, but I loved James Worthy.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think Worthy handled as much of the offensive load as Carmelo though, because he
No,
had so many stars around him. Uh,
exactly.
maybe a little bit of Sam Perkins.
Smooth, big smooth. I mean, I could see it. But Big Smooth was slower than Carmelo. Carmelo, like you said,
Yeah,
he was a Swiss Army knife and he wanted to
yeah.
go
I mean,
downhill every chance he had.
yeah. Sam couldn't take you off the dribble. Uh, maybe Chris Webber even. You're one of your favorite players.
No, 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 no. We're not gonna do that. Nah, Chris Webber was an anomaly, man. Chris Webber was one of those players that he was a freak of nature, in my opinion, especially his rookie season. But Carmelo, I don't think Carmelo was anything like Chris Webber was when he came in the league.
So the modern day current player, whose game most resembles Carmelo?
Carmelo, I say modern day, I would have to look at Tyrese Halliburton. You know what I mean? The difference between him and Tyrese Halliburton, Tyrese will move the ball, but offensively, I think their games are a lot similar because they have the same. When I analyze a player, I look at, are they fluid when they move? Or do they have a lot of fluidity? Rather, that's a hard word to say. Can they flow when they move? Kind of like if you look at Michael Jordan flowed and he was smooth with it. Carmelo Anthony he was good, but he was stiff when he moved. You know what I mean? He was a stiff player, and he was still productive. And you look at him and Halliburton; those two right there remind me of each other. They are kind of stiff, but they can still score. They're not bad. You know what I mean? But he's not fluid. He doesn't have that fluidness about some players just have it, some players just don't. That doesn't mean they can't hoop. It's just they look stiff when they hoop, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you see that a lot when players grow into their body. But uh, using a football analogy, uh, Jordan and them were more like a running back, a shifty running back,
Hmm.
versus a power running back that or a tight end. They can get you down the field, but they don't make many moves to, you know. So kind of like comparing a Jason Witten to an Emmitt Smith or a Barry Sanders type, you know.
Barry Sanders was the truth, man. He was one of those players, man. Well, yeah, I know we're a basketball content channel, but when you talk about Barry Sanders, my goodness,
So
man.
so if you think about it offensively, if you take the defensive part out of the equation, which we know you can, Pascal Siakam kind of reminds me a little bit of Carmelo. He's just not the ball hawk.
Offensively, yeah, but defensively, I would have Pascal
Oh,
defensively for sure.
Pascal by far is a much better defensive player. and the ball doesn't stick as much.
Yeah.
With
Offensively, I can
Pascal.
see that they have similar games. I think Carmelo Anthony way offensively better than Pascal for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carmelo is going to be. I don't know. I know
So
he's really excited about what's going on with his
where
career.
would you think that he ranks in all-time career scoring?
All-time career scoring, he'd have to be top 50.
Number 12.
What?
Yeah, I happened to glance by when I was digging up the other stats and add career, as career rebounds and all that. Career scoring, he's 12
12 all time?
all time.
Wow. I would have never guessed that. I know he was offensively inclined for sure, but to be top 20, well, top 15 if you really think about it. That's crazy. You had anything other than, I mean, other than scoring, I don't think he was one of those guys that, in my opinion, wowed me when it comes to, like, if you had to choose at his time when he was in the league, a face of the league, he wouldn't have been it. He would have been close, but he would, like, again, he was so much to me. If I'm thinking in retrospect, he was more of a Scottie Pippen in essence. You know what I mean? But Scottie Pippen was a defensive player. But like when I'm saying comparisons, there he's a number two when it comes to
Yeah,
if you wanted to do the face of the league.
he was not the alpha dog, but
Yeah.
much like Harden hogs the ball, but Carmelo wasn't a point guard. It's like if the ball got thrown into him, it wasn't coming back out. He was gonna go make a play. So,
Yeah.
it was very uh probably starting with the early 2000, 2010 around there.
Mhm.
Ball movement, even before Golden State. Uh, the 2011 team, Carlisle coach was mimicked after the '86 Celtics, which was ball movement. If you don't make a move within 1 to 2 seconds, then you pass the ball. So
No,
Carmelo
facts.
was kind of in that in between. It was like Jim Jackson got in the league. Shooting guards didn't post up people. Small forwards didn't post up people. But
Yeah.
he had a great. Jim Jackson had a great post up game. So Carmelo was one of those guys that it was transitioning to ball movement, uh, and away from uh, just a scoring machine. But he wasn't
Yeah.
really an alpha. Amari Stoudemire on that Knicks team was supposed to be the alpha dog.
Yeah. He NBA 75th anniversary team. Man, I mean, he belongs on that, man. Again, he was one of those guys that was outstanding when it comes to offense. You said it, man. In his career, he averaged 22.5 points a game. That's crazy. Um, it's so many things he did, man. NBA scoring title in 2013. I just so many things we can say about the kid, man. And I'm happy that he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I think that's something that it's well deserved for him. And we salute you, Carmelo, man, and congratulations on your illustrious career with the NBA, man. And you've been an ambassador for us, well, not us, but I'm an NBA fan. But for me, I appreciate it. But he wasn't one of my favorite players, as you know. Chris Webber is going to be always number one on the list. But salute to you, brother. Anything else you want to add to it?
No, yeah, Chris Webber, number four, number
Yes, sir.
four, Swish
No boy,
four.
Swish for real. For real. All right, man. And even though he didn't play defense, there's a lot of good defensive players in the NBA currently, and we're gonna talk about the top five NBA players. And if you want to get it started, Boogie, you can, or if you want me to go ahead and start talk about the top five best players in the NBA for his defense go, I can definitely give it a shot.
But I'll let you go first because I had a coach against you, and we had an offensive team, and you had a defensive team, and that that
Well,
that 2-3 that 2-3 double team press on the half court was something to watch.
Yeah, we practiced on that forever and ever. That's the first things we was talking about when I first got, because none of those kids I knew in general. They were all new to me, and I was new to them. And some of them, especially my point guard Bobby, he was not happy to be playing. I think his parents forced him to play basketball. But when I started coaching him, he started getting better. He started loving the game. Even kids who never played basketball before, there was one of them, I can't remember his name, our big center, he was not that good either. But as we started playing and practicing, they got really good, man. And again, yeah, you're right, man. Our focus was definitely defense, and that was one of the things I always pride myself on. And our motto was defense, then ball movement. So if you get defense down, then when you get to the other side of the court, just move the ball and you'll find an open shot. But my top five when it comes to NBA defensive players, number one, Victor Wembanyama. He is one of the catalysts when it comes to defense last year. Block shots, he led the league in block shots. He was one of the ones that it was an anomaly, like we talked about earlier. He was some of the blocks he had was like, where did he come from? Even though his offensive game is amazing, I think what's gonna catapult San Antonio to the next level defensively will be Wembanyama. And with them getting Ron Harper's son, Dylan Harper, that's not gonna be an easy team to beat when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs. Wembanyama is really top. Draymond Green, not a lot of people talk about him, man. This guy, well, I talk about him a lot. I mean, I can't say not a lot of people talk about it. They talk about him in some different reasons, you know what I mean? Some of the shenanigans that he has. But when it comes to a defensive leader for Golden State, you cannot say that guy is not the one. He is the one when it comes to getting
And
people where they need to
he's
be.
only 6'8", 6'9".
The dude, man, he is
Yeah,
amazing.
he's the
And you could
quarterback.
Yeah, right. And you can put him in three different positions: small forward, center, and power forward. He can play all of those for you, even though he's undersized for a center. But still, he's going to give you every little bit of ounce of inspiration when it comes to defense, and he's going to push through and get you what you need. That stop, that give me your best player. I'm gonna do my best to shut him down. He plays the passing lane. He steals the ball. He blocks shots. He steps and get charges. And his energy, bro. Draymond Green, not a lot of people like him, but his energy is infectious when it comes to defense. He and then like on the offensive side, if he get a 3-pointer, he's not gonna do nothing but play more better defense because now he touched the ball. Yeah, gave me the ball, made a shot. Now I'm gonna get the ball back for us. We finna roll, and that's the kind of player I love to have on my squad as a coach. Draymond Green, number two. Bam, Adebayo, and Bam Adebayo
Yeah,
from Miami.
out of bottom.
That dude, Miami would have won a lot of the games that they won without him. He is the anchor for that team when it comes to defense. He's done everything he possibly could to make sure that team gets to where it needs to be. Because the players they surround him with, besides when they had Jimmy Butler, none of them really were defensive minded. You know what I mean? And Bam, he was the center. He made sure that hey, nothing's coming in his paint. I'm guarding. I'm trying to make sure that we get to where we need to be. And it ain't no joke with him. He was one of those guys that really wanted to win when it comes to those championships that he won. It was pretty much if they didn't have him, I don't think they would have won those championships. Bam put his heart and soul into his defense, and it kind of reminds me of Draymond Green. I mean, Draymond Green did his thing and Golden State, but Bam he was more of a subtle, quiet guy. He was how you have those guys who have the hard hat, just go to work. I don't want to argue with you. I just want to get my job done, do what I got to do, make sure we on time or whatever. That's Bam. Bam was one of those guys that's, hey, I'm going to give you what I got to give you, and we're going to make this thing happen. And I think being on Miami kind of showcased what he could do defensively, and that's my number three. My number four, and this guy won the Defensive Player of the Year twice, Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert, and as a center, you would expect more out of him offensively, but the what they call it, the Stifle Tower, he's tall as hell.
Coach Carlisle called him Inspector Gadget
Yeah, and
because
the
of his
dude,
long arms, you know.
only thing I Rudy, I don't know how much I can say about him because he just, you know how you have those guys that's just gonna just go to work, kind of like Bam Adebayo. Rudy just goes to work, and he gets a lot of criticism. You know, what I mean, especially when they played against Dallas that year, 2 years ago when we went to the finals. We had to go through them to get to the finals, and that amazing step back that Luka did on him. It's been played over and over again in history, but Rudy Gobert, if it wasn't for him being what he is, especially when he was at, I think Utah, when he was playing for Utah, he brought them where they needed to be. And then when he got to Minnesota, Minnesota picked him up, and they rather pay him than Carl Anthony Towns. And that's saying a lot because they had more faith in Rudy than they did Carl Anthony Towns. And that's, respectable because Carl Anthony Towns, not saying he's a slouch on defense, but he's nothing more. He's not anything like Rudy Gobert when it comes to defense. He plays his heart out and he tries his best. He's defensively rebounding, blocking shots. He's just guarding your center. He's protecting the paint. He's everything that a team would dream of. You know what I mean? Not like what we have with Dallas. Dallas got two monsters, but Rudy Gobert is not much you can do with him when it comes to defense because he's going to give you everything he has. Block shots, rebound is his main two things he's going to give you, and I'm not mad at that. That's my number 4. And my last one is, and this guy, I hate to say it, if he wasn't so injury prone, he would probably be one of the best of all times when it comes to defense because he really, really prides himself on playing defense, and also his offensive game is not bad at all. And I'm talking about Anthony Davis. He's my number 5. The Mavs got him from LA with the Luka trade, and I think what he brings to the defensive end for Dallas, it's not going to do nothing but make Cooper Flag better. It's going to make Gafford better, and it's going to make Lively better because he's going to push them to be great. Even though Lively is still it's going to be his 3rd year, I believe, 3rd year coming in. 3rd year, you got Anthony Davis helping you out being a better player, and you got Gafford on your other side. Gafford coming off the bench, Anthony Davis starting. And come on, man, it's nothing you could do with that Dallas team when it comes to protecting the paint. You got those three-headed monsters. It's going to be hard for them to really challenge Dallas when it comes to driving into the paint because it's 3 guys going to be there waiting for you: Anthony Davis, Lively, and Gafford. Depending on where you want to put them, depending on how you want to run this game, because they're going to have something regardless. And they just re-signed PJ. PJ he's got something to prove this year. He's got to step up and be a superstar. But Anthony Davis is my number 5, top 5 when it comes to defensive players. I think his game defensively, it shines through when it comes to late game heroics. He's going to get you that stop. He's going to do everything he can to make sure that you guys win defensively. And it's been like that throughout his career since he came from New Orleans to LA and now to Dallas. I just want to see him excel in Dallas and make sure that whatever he does, that the championship is sure to come. If we keep this team healthy, Anthony Davis is the catalyst of it for his defense to go. Cooper Flag is going to be an addition, even though he's going to be a rookie coming into the season. I think with Anthony Davis, he's going to really put a lot of emphasis on getting better as far as pushing Cooper Flag. So those are my top 5, man. Victor Wembanyama, Rudy Gobert, Bam Adebayo, Draymond Green, and Anthony Davis, man. So what you think, Bob?
So AD's got one of the famous stat lines in NCAA tournament history. With Kentucky winning a championship, he scored 0 points and won most valuable player in the tournament because he dominated. And that's back
Mm-hmm.
when they called him Unibrow.
Yep.
So uh, we've got one player in common. But I had number 1.
Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, if he wasn't in street clothes, he's kind of like AD. If he wasn't in street clothes all the time, then he's a. I mean, he was good in Popovich's San Antonio and better in Toronto, but I mean, he single handedly won won that. Not in the well, they beat him in the bubble, and he scored points and had it. But the next year, uh, the Mavs were up like 2 games to 1, and he single handedly just he said, not on my watch. And he had 3 or 4 steals and down for a dunk and scored a lot of points. I don't remember, maybe 30, 35 points that game. But the claw, Kawhi Leonard, I got number one.
Mm.
I have Rudy Gobert. Uh, he's been exposed though. When you draw him out, like Luca drawing him out, Brunson draw him out, he's not much on the recovery. So when much like the center in for the Clippers, can't think of his name right now. They get exposed when they
Lopez, right? Not, is it Lopez or
no, not Lopez, because the Lakers traded him to him. Anyhow, he's got better. He's always been a
is it
good defender.
Lynn? Lynn does it?
It'd come to me, but I mean, Rudy Gobert, if you keep him, underneath the top of the key in the paint and all, he's won Defensive Player of the Year for quite a few years. Uh, Number 3, I had Drew Holiday.
Mm.
Drew Holiday single-handedly helped the Celtics, along with another player I'm going to mention. So Celtics gave up, I think, 3 first-round picks to get Drew Holiday. Or no, when he was first traded out of New Orleans, his 3 first-round picks. Then I have Wembyama. Uh,
Mm.
BW, he can take 2 steps and go from the corner 3 on one side to the other corner 3 on the other side, and I swear he don't take more than 2 or 3 steps. Uh, he's one of the few players at that height that you actually see has speed. Uh, Kind of reminds me a little bit of how Robert Parrish could recover from one side to the other. Just when you thought he had Robert Parrish beat, he was he's he had already recovered and came back on the other side. Of course, he had McHale and Bird helping him, and then later on he had Bill Walton. But Wemby defensively reminds me a little bit of the Chief Robert Parrish.
Which
Uh,
is crazy because he reminds me more of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for whatever reason.
yeah, I could see that. When before he first played, I thought kind of a Ralph Sampson type. Uh, Ralph Sampson career never took off. Coming out of Virginia in college, Ralph Sampson was that kind of player. And then the last guy, this is a shout out for Wild Dog. We miss you. But Derek White, Derek White's kind of underrated as far as a defensive player on a guard.
Yeah, because he came from a system in San Antonio that prided itself on defense.
Yeah. So you got this would be the 5. If you had these 5, you'd have Kawhi, Rudy Gobert, Drew Holiday, Wemby, and Derek White. He had those. You got 2 guards, 2 centers, and a forward there. That that would you'd be hard to get 100 points on that team.
Oh yeah, because everybody's dogs on that team.
Yeah.
So that's your
Now
top
he's
5.
not he's not playing he's not playing currently in the NBA, but 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would have put Patrick Beverly on that list.
Yeah, he's playing in the Big Three right now, isn't he?
He's playing in the Big Three, and kudos to Malik I think it was Beasley who won a championship in the Big
Michael
Three.
Beasley.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did real good, man. Shout out to Ice Cube for putting that league on, man, because what he's doing with that league is pushing these players to play better 3-on-3 for sure, and he's growing it, man. And I hope that it continues to grow. So Cube, shout out to you, man, if you ever watch this video. Anything else you want to put onto your top five as far as defensive players currently?
Well, you mentioned the three-headed monster. You could probably call it the four-headed monster, and PJ's no slouch when it comes to blocks. But you know, Mavericks have it as a team next year may lead the league in blocks between AD, Lively, Gafford, Flag, and PJ.
And you can't forget Swish Army Knife. What's his name? They
Najee
call him
Marshall,
Najee Marshall because that dude is
yeah,
if you got the sheriff and the marshal. PJ's the sheriff, and then you got Najee Marshall.
but I mean, they could definitely lead the league in blocks this year. Maybe
I
not
agree.
one individual, but collectively.
I agree.
So
And
I think what
speak
the and Kid have figured it out, but much like Clay Thompson is rest AD as much as you can, have him healthy for the playoffs, and rotate between him, PJ, and Cooper. You rotate it so that you keep Anthony Davis minutes down
Yeah, I think
around
they're gonna
30
do
or
that
less.
because if you look at Kid is a master of when it comes to his lineup. And I think one thing I like about Kid, he tries to get the best out of everybody, and then he doesn't try to overdo them. Even though when we lost Luca, Kyrie had to work a little bit harder. And I think
Yeah.
if we wouldn't have got Kyrie hurt, we would have made the playoffs last year. Even though we did make it as a play-in, that's not, in my opinion, that's not good enough. And I just hate that we lost to Memphis.
But if you can keep AD's minutes under 30 until the playoffs, and let Gafford, Lively, and Flag and PJ, take up the other minutes. Play him at the end of the game definitely, but if you can keep AD's minutes down where he's not playing 35, 36, 40 minutes a game, like just preserving. Clay Thompson don't need to be playing over 30 minutes a game. You
I
got
agree.
guys who come in and fill in that spot for a little while, and then when you get to playoffs, then you can ride that thoroughbred as long and hard as you want.
Nah, facts. And speaking of the Mavs, when they traded Luca, this guy got so many death threats, hate. All this came his way because, in my opinion, I don't think he had a lot of say so in that trade. He was just the puppeteer well, not the puppeteer. He was a puppet for the puppeteer when it comes to the decision on what happened to Luca. And we're talking about Nico Harris, and they had so many fans out there at the AA that that next day they were out there with a casket. People were really but that was in confusion, to be honest. To be Why would you trade a franchise player to a rival? But I mean, I get it. If you want the NBA to continue to be like in the forefront of a lot of basketball heads like myself, mine, then you would do something because the numbers were down. And I think we talked about this before. The NBA numbers were really down. And then when they did make that trade, it helped with the numbers and it kind of give more light to the NBA. But with Nico being still where he's at in the position with the Mavs, do you think he'll be able to redeem himself this coming season? Will the Mavs have a winning record? I'm pretty sure they will. But what can he do to redeem himself in regards to Nico Harris?
Nothing, nothing. I don't think he can redeem himself. And I put in my notes, uh, Mike Lynn and Herschel Walker trade when Minnesota gave up six decent players and seven draft picks. They called it the train robbery.
The great
Uh,
train robbery.
but you take forget generational player, and since he's been traded, I've said on this podcast that Luka's just a highlight reel player, and he's been tearing it up with Slovenia, but the ball sticks with him as well, kind of like Harden. Uh, but I put in my notes, you don't ever recover from trading a top five player in the league. You just don't. So I give him 2, 3 years maximum. Then he's gone. And I don't think you'll see him get unless Rob Pelinka hires him. I don't think you see him ever again in the NBA as a GM. Uh, so the owner has used him as an scapegoat and a spokesperson for the trade. Uh, you know, we can only speculate what was going on behind the scenes and the dollars that they were going to have to spend and all that. So uh, you just if they don't win a championship in the next 2 to 3 years, then and he like he said in the conference, he goes, we may not. And he looked at Jason Kidd, he goes, we may not even be here after 3 years.
Mm.
And Jason Kidd, I don't want to play poker with him because he had a straight face and but he didn't even raise the eyes like, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna be here for. But he didn't even give him that look. So for until they win a championship, and maybe even if they win a championship, right now he's still the villain. Uh, the only person to take any heat off of Nico right now is the fact that Jerry Jones traded Michael Parsons because he got in a Mexican standoff with him.
Mm.
Uh,
And you know what's crazy though? When you go to other arenas in regards to anything related to Dallas, a lot of fans are still chanting "Fire Nico."
but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at the first Cowboy game that you have 80,000 Cowboy fans chant "Fire Nico." Yeah, I don't know if
Right.
you watched the news. It was in the paper. He was eating at a uh, one of the Twin Peaks restaurant, and a guy f bombed him left and right and attacked him verbally, and they had to get uh, police to escort this person out. And
Dang.
this February, this is 6 months ago, and so he can't even go out in public to a public restaurant without people uh, accosting him. So uh, will he get fired? Maybe not this year because the owners don't want they don't they've got a buffer there. There's someone with a bigger target than the owner themselves. So as long as Nico's taking the flack, they'll keep him as a shield for this year. Uh, and what's ironic is, and my friend said this, before that trade, he had been considered one of the best GMs, bringing in Gafford and Washington and getting rid of some bad contracts. He got rid of the Latvian laser uh, that we got from Washington in the KP trade.
Yeah.
Uh, and so he got rid of that big contract. Then he got a first round pick out of Sacramento by taking on Richard Holmes, which they
Yeah.
moved. He got a first round pick out out of Oklahoma City so they could go get Gafford. He traded with Oklahoma City to trade down and still get Derek Lively. Got an extra first round pick there. Uh,
Yeah.
so up until that time, he he had been considered pretty smart, but sometimes loyalty is blind and allegiance is blind. And I I don't know how long he worked for Nike, but I think his glasses are different rose color than ours. But- So that Nike allegiance, I think, is his blind spot. That's his Achilles heel.
Yeah, and he also mentioned defense win championships, and I understand why he's trying to make it more of a defensive minded team. And going back to him and Jason Kidd, do you consider or the ideal that Jason Kidd may have known this prior to the trade, or you think it's all Nico that kind of examined the trade with Rob Pelinka and and pulled the trigger? Because again,
I
like I
don't
mentioned earlier, I think the NBA has a lot to do with that trade.
before the news came out, I think he might have been, as a courtesy, but told this is what we're doing. And
Mm,
I think the trade had already been agreed upon, but hadn't been publicized yet. And they just courtesy let him know, but I don't think he was in on the decision process. And you know, early in kid's career, he's known as a coach killer. There's a lot of coaches that lost their job because of Jason Kidd and complaining. And so you know, he kind of been through that. And I'm not so sure that Kidd wasn't tired of all the antics that Luka was always arguing with the referee. And they had a practice drill. They asked him, he point blank said, "We do practices at 5-on-4 fast breaks because we know Luka's not going to get back." So,
Mm,
you know, who knows how much frustration was there,
with Kid.
in- with Kidd, because in game 6, you know, early in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter, Luka missed a bunny and he fouled the guy. Is a silly foul. And he was already on 4. I was like, that's a mistake. Why you double down? A lot of players in the NBA, they make a mistake and they double down, they foul, so they make it twice as bad. Well, when he got the sixth foul and he's sitting there on his butt, he looked right over at Kid and you better blank challenge that.
What?
So,
I think I missed that.
oh, you go back and watch it, you can even read, yeah, but he F bombed Jason Kidd. You better blank and challenge that.
Yeah,
So, when the best player and the coach don't get along or there's acrimony between the two, one of them's got to go.
yeah,
So, if you're a head coach and your best player is openly questioning your authority in front of the rest of the team, that doesn't bode well for you to be able to coach the team, the rest of the team. So
yeah,
you never know. It won't ever come out what was going on behind the scenes, or uh, you know, there's rumors in the Lakers that LeBron's upset because they go to Luka and say, "Who do you want?" He's basically calling the shots out there of what
yeah,
player he wants, and so you got to know when to zip it, and you got to know when who's really in charge. That might have been a mono of, "Hey, I'm in charge, and I'm going to show you by trading you away."
yeah. And I was gonna say, shout out to one of our podcast homies out there. He hasn't been on the show, but his name is TGK. He talked about this extensively as far as Luca going to LA, and he actually stopped being a Mavs fan. He was a huge Mavs fan before then, and he's really kind of pissed that Nico did what he did. But again, shout out to TGK for just standing on principle when it comes to loving the team as he did. And when they traded the franchise player, I get it, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day,
Right.
me myself, I'm a fan of the
So
Mavs.
money always talks and makes sometimes good decisions and sometimes makes bad decisions. But when you follow the money, then they lost 20-25% of their season ticket base
Yeah,
when renewals came out, uh, with price increases at a month after the trade, and the playoff tickets had doubled in price. They they had so I mean, Maverick season ticket base has been uh, pretty reliable for several decades. For them to lose 20-25% of their season ticket base, we're talking people that have courtside seats and ones that were partial owners. So they sold out to Addison and said, we're not having any of this mess. And they didn't. There's a few of them I talked to, they're not renewing their courtside seats. Uh, so it wasn't until they won the draft lottery that people wanted to come back. And when they got Cooper Flag, they refilled some of that up. But there's for the last, I can't even remember last time the Mavericks worked so hard, PR department, trying to solicit season ticket sales and bring in people. They usually had a waiting list. They've had a waiting list all the way back to when Dirk, started was playing as a starter. So it's you're going all the way back to the Three J's period to when they had a really PR public emails weren't as popular, but social media. I mean, they are spending buku bucks trying to get sponsors back and season ticket holders back.
Facts.
So
It's interesting though because being that Luca is now with the LA Lakers and Nico, it had a lot to do with him being traded. He had everything to do with him being traded. Makes it difficult for anybody to really want to come to the Mavericks. And we're going to kind of switch gears now. And speaking of just coming to the Mavericks, there's a lot of teams that are top five, top teams outside of the United States. With Luca being Slovenia, we're going to talk about some of the top teams that are outside of the United States. Well, not top teams, but top leagues that's out of the United States. Let's kind of shift gears on that, and some of the top pro teams out of the market. We can name quite a few, but I'll let you start, Bob, and I'll chime in right after you.
I listed two. Uh, China was number one that I listed.
Yeah,
We saw the effect when Yao Ming, was in the league, and uh, everybody knows that China has over a billion people in population.
facts.
What most people don't know is China has more millionaires than the entire population of the United States.
What?
Yeah.
Dang.
You got some 340 million people in the United States. They've got more millionaires than we have as far as population. So when you talk about branding and expanding, of course, Mexico is close, but when you talk about people getting up at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning to watch their favorite player on an NBA team,
Like,
that
because you have all the players going out there nowadays, and you have one that's still out there, which is Stephon Marbury.
it, and the spillover effect you saw when Brittany Griner got arrested. People were going overseas to make money for the WNBA, and China was some of the high that in the Russian league they were some of the highest paying leagues for the women. So and that's a huge market. You got a billion people there. The second one, the European, uh, not just the Olympic or the Olympic or the World Cup that's played, but they have the Euro. I forget the name, but it's a Euro trophy. So
Mm,
uh, the European League uh, has pumped a lot of players into the NBA, but it's never going to exceed soccer over there,
no.
or as they call it, football.
Football.
But but on the same regard, you got some high dollar, very wealthy people buying the European teams. Uh, so I think Europe's to me is like the second biggest market behind China.
Yeah. Anything else on those? Those are the top two.
Those are my top two. And I mean, when you think about the Olympics, you got France, Slovenia, Latvia, uh, um, one Serbia. I mean, you got four European teams that are country representative that are all very competitive.
Yeah. And for me to chime in, I agree with you on China. China is one of the top markets when it comes to basketball and building a fan base. With Yao Ming coming in when he did, it really boosted up the league as far as the visibility in China. And I gotta go even further back when you talk about the Dream Team. The Dream Team when they was playing in the Olympics, playing against China, playing against any European team, they show that the NBA is where you need to be when it comes to the top athletes in this game. And they kind of boosted the league to where it is now. And my top two, China was one, and the other was Brazil. Brazil, man, they it's right behind China when it comes to people really enjoying the league. It has a strong market for the NBA with millions of fans really just chiming in watching games, and the revenue right there, it's generating a lot. With Europe falling behind that, there's a lot of good young players coming out of Europe. Wembanyama naming one, Giannis naming two. They're not shy when it comes to developing players in Europe. But the top two, China and Brazil, when it comes to good markets that really enjoy the NBA, those two markets, in my opinion, are the two that really shines brighter when it comes
And
to.
Mexico does a pretty good job of selling out. Mexico City, where the Mavs have played a couple times.
Now, let me ask you this question too, Bob. Do you think, and it's been kind of shoved around a little bit, the idea of the NBA expanding into the European market, but how would that work? And I think we talked about this before, and we can kind of refresh our audience how we thought about it then versus now. Do you think it's possible for the NBA to even get a team developed there over there, maybe one or two, or should it be like what the track star said? It's not a world championship if it's only one in America. It has to be played against teams out of everywhere in the world for it to be a world championship. So, and if the American, whoever wins the championship in America and whoever wins the championship in Europe, say for instance they face off, would that be considered a world championship in essence?
I I, I look at two things. They haven't used the word world champs in quite a while. You don't hear it. I mean, occasionally slips out. But you hadn't heard that why they call them NBA champs now, or the uh, Bill Russell Trophy. Uh, but you look at the NFL,
Hmm.
what the NFL's done. They thought about having a Euro League for years, and you know, pun not intended, Wembley Stadium sells out anytime uh, an NFL team plays over there, and so they're testing this year. There's a team going to play back-to-back weekends in the NFL over in Europe. So the outreach may be not as far for the NFL as the NBA, but I think you gotta have to closely watch that and see what. So they're testing the waters. The All-Star game, the World versus USA is going to be one thing. The time zone is always going to create a problem.
Yeah,
Uh,
because if you consider Australia and India, those are like a whole different day, time
yeah.
zone wise.
Well, and when you work for a global company, they talk about EMEA, Eastern, uh, Middle Eastern Europe, and APAC, Asia Pacific, uh, and then the Americas. So you would all almost have to divide it up by continents and have people play, and then those four continents come together for a trophy. The closest thing we have to it is the Olympics.
The
Uh,
World Cup.
the World Cup is more of a world global uh, phenomenon,
Hmm.
and I mean that might be something they can footprint. But you remember late '90s, maybe '80s, uh, when they had the yacht. They remember they sailed the sailing vessels. They used to have that. I don't remember if it's called the World Cup or not, but they
Wasn't that
used
in
to have.
Australia at the time?
Oh, it was all over. Like they even had it in America where they would race certain boats. And that one billionaire was always funding a boat
Mm.
trying to win that trophy. So uh, maybe when we're sitting in a rocking chair in our retirement homes, we'll see a European League and the American League come together. But uh, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
Dang. Yeah. I think NFL would probably do it faster than the NBA would, but the NBA would probably benefit more because there's more. It's in a more of an indoor sport, and you don't have to worry about any players getting hurt so fast, and then you can grow the league even more quicker if you develop something in general when it comes to world championships. So I
They
don't know,
played
man.
the preseason like Dirks last year. They played in China, and the year before they played in the UAB. So I think they go to Mexico this year, or or coming up. Maybe it's not this year. Maybe it's next year.
Mm, yeah, yeah. It's to be seen. I don't know. It's something interesting for sure because the top five teams, well, the top three markets, in my opinion, China, Brazil, and Europe for sure. And I mean, generally, you got Germany, you got France, all that's Europe. So the Euro League is something that's second. I have to say it's like third. Anything else you got on that?
Well, you left out Australia. I was just thinking of the game risk in the different continents. Australia League, well, Leangelo or your favorite Lorenzo Ball played instead of
Lonzo
on the
Ball,
side.
yeah.
He went to Australia and played instead of.
And did he invest in a European team? Like he's like part owner?
I
I mean,
think he,
Australian team rather.
yeah. I'm not sure if he invested in it. But R.J. Hampton, that was local, instead of going to Kentucky, he went to the Australian League.
Yeah.
He
And it's
hadn't
good to
heard much
like,
about it a couple years, so.
and it's good for like when you really can't get into the G League or can't make the NBA just yet, like you're 18, 17, you don't want to go to college. I agree with Lamar Ball when it comes to, hey, just go out there, play against grown men and get better. And he always had his boys playing up when it comes to them when they were younger playing basketball for sure. Anyway, let's move on to the next subject. This just hit the news yesterday, reported by a YouTuber talking about some of the things that's going on with the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. And I'm pretty sure it's more of this going. Yep. So all of the money move. And I'm pretty sure it's more of this going on. And the FBI is investigating Kawhi Leonard's company that got, I believe, 28 million paid to them under the table from Steve Ballmer. Steve Ballmer recently stated that this was paid prior to him even coming on. They didn't have anything to do with the deal. How much is that true? I'm not quite sure. Yeah, this Kawhi Leonard situation with the Clippers is getting kind of more elusive when it comes to getting the right details when you really think about it. Your thoughts on what's going on with the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard and the FBI being involved with this investigation?
Well, Ballmer owned that third party company that Ascension, I think, was the name. So Ballmer owned that company. So that even if he wasn't the owner of the Clippers at the time, he 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 had to have known about it. You can't just
Hmm.
be an officer, just stick your head in the sand. Uh, I wrote these down. Clippers have had historically been a drama franchise. Before Ballmer bought the team, there was a lot of uh, when they casted the previous owner out, and Cuban said that's a slippery slope. He made some derogatory comments, and things came out, and they forced him to sell the Clippers.
Hmm.
So there's when they were in San Diego, there was drama. When I think they were in Kansas City before San Diego, there was drama. So they have a long history of drama. Uh, and uh, I won't say I'm sad or apologize to say this, but uh, going to University of Oklahoma, we all knew that players got paid. You didn't even have to be involved in athletics. You was like rookie or freshman come in and have a brand new Trans Am, and one of the automobile dealers, fund the cars and money show up in church pew donations. And so my point is cheaters are going to find a way to cheat. They're going to find a way to get around the rules. They're going to find a way, and until they get their hands slapped or until they get caught, the cheaters are going to find a way to cheat. Uh, so that in the news article that came out, Minnesota uh, had their hands slapped and they lost 5 first-round picks uh, because of this. So you can pay a coach as much as you want outside of the salary cap or front office person, uh, but under the table being, uh, Michael Jordan still makes 60 million a year. I think it's 60, maybe it's 100 million a year with Nike. So they can
Mhm.
make all the money with a shoe contract, but some other company they want to represent or some commercial they want to represent, where do you draw the line? So I think the Clippers is to be a hand slap, but I think they'll lose at least one first round pick. Uh, the fact that they're drawing attention to that, you remember, uh, what was it, Tim Donaghy or whatever that was betting on
Donahue, Tim Donahue, that
yeah,
ref.
the ref that was betting on games that he was officiating. So, the, uh, when it comes out in the press, you either sweep it under the rug or you deal with it and then hope nothing else come out. But it's kind of like mice, you get rid of one and the whole family comes in to eat, or you get one cockroach and a whole bunch of other cockroaches show up. Uh,
And
so
Balmer for the company he had, you're right. He had the company, but he had Kawhi Leonard paid 28 million lucratively, just but essentially as a no-show job with aspiration. That's the name of the company. And what's interesting is that Kawhi Leonard's company, KL Aspire, kind of aspire, and then you have aspiration. That's just too close of a commonality, in my opinion.
yeah, and that company's bankrupt by the way now,
Yeah.
but he still got paid.
Yeah, $28 million. It's crazy. And I think
Well, when you think
you
when you think
circumvent
of
the salary
salary,
cap.
when you think of salaries today, 28 million really isn't a whole lot for what the salaries are. Uh, like Luca's next contract, he'll be paid $1 million a game.
And just imagine that. Get paid $1 million just to bounce a ball. And Inspire was a financial technology company, so it makes sense for them to name it. I mean, a bomber to be head of it because
Yeah,
he was from Microsoft.
I mean it's shady, but think about. I mean, I mentioned Michael Jordan, but other players that have made money on the side for doing sponsorships or commercials and stuff. Uh, Jordan's actually made more money outside of basketball than he did in basketball. I mean,
Yeah,
Shaq did rap music and movies and made money.
Magic Johnson, movie theaters and
Magic
other
Johnson,
business ventures.
Dame Dollar.
Dame Dollar, yeah.
So where do you draw the line for that?
Yeah, and I think again they were trying to circumvent the salary cap, as you mentioned, and putting that in place only gave him like a bonus incentive just to play, just to sign with the Clippers at the time. To having those two businesses link up, Kawhi business with Ballmer's business, basically kind of gave him the go ahead to put that money through as him being paid as a no show job uh, employee for
There's
that
other
company.
ways to do it. There's other ways to do it. Like uh, when you retire, you can become an assistant coach or a scout force. We'll pay you X amount.
But like a lot of players don't want to do they want money now. This generation wants it now, and I can't wait for it. You know what I mean? That's basically how
Yeah,
they think. But I don't know.
just the millennial thinking. But
Yeah,
But the
for
whole
sure.
reason Kawhi went to LA Clippers in the first place is isn't he from that area? Isn't he from the Los Angeles area?
He is. He's an LA kid. I think he went to San Diego for college, right?
San Diego State, I think it was
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he played pretty
one of them.
good. And his moniker was Boardman gets the bank. So he was really trying to make sure he made the NBA regardless as a rebounder, but he became much more. Interesting. Though. I don't. What do you think they're gonna do with Balmer? Yeah, a lot of people saying he's not gonna. Nothing's gonna happen. Like you said, maybe just a slap on the wrist. But is that really gonna be the case?
Yeah, you can have all the conspiracy theory out there, but when the rubber meets the road, uh, they're not. I don't think they're going to do anything serious.
Mm.
Silver wants to maintain a reputation, and he don't want to damage anything that's going to hurt the marketing of the league.
And they'll find a way to sweep this under the rug as always, man. Any more thoughts on that?
I'm well. How do you distinguish the difference between this and high school players that get NIL money to play high school? In
How
Texas,
do
they
I?
can't. Texas, they can't do that, which is why Quinn Ewers graduated a year early. So in Texas, you can't earn NIL money when you're in high school. You have
I
to
didn't
be in
know that.
college. Yeah,
When is
you
that
you can get
been
a
in place?
following. You can get a following in Texas, but you can't unequivocally get NIL. But there's some people that were going to go on a first round draft, and they they would have made more in NIL money than a first round draft pick was going to make in the first year.
Well,
So
if you are you trying to compare that to what they're doing in Clipper land, I don't think it's pretty comparable because one thing is that the NIL is noted. People know what it is. When you try to underhandedly build a company, and I don't know when this company got started, but the YouTuber probably has all the information in the report. If it's just started within the year of Kawhi signing with the Clippers, that's pretty much saying that there is something that was under the table discussed. You know what I mean? As far as we'll pay you this, but NIL, it's you could see the similarities when it comes to players you want to come to your school. You could probably say, "Hey, we'll give you this type of," even though it's not feasible in Texas, but we'll give you this money if you come to our school, and we'll give you also this under the table. Like,
yeah, Duncanville's notorious for that. Pay for mom and dad to move,
yeah,
closer.
I've
Uh,
heard about that.
but like they were writing about SMU and the recovery that their football team made last year, they said that NIL doesn't stand for name, image, and likeness. It stands for now it's legal.
I'm gonna
People
have
were
to use
paying
that.
people were paying payers back in the 70s and 80s, and they're like, now it's legal. So they call SMU dubbed NIL. Now it's legal.
Yeah, because wasn't that running those two running back Craig
Eric
James
Dickerson and
and Eric
Craig
Dickerson,
James,
yeah.
the Pony Express.
Man, I didn't watch football back then. I wish I would have as far as college football, but I would have loved to see them two play. I
Well,
heard they
that
were
was
pretty
that was
good.
my freshman sophomore year in college. So you had Billy Sims and David Overstreet, and Elvis Peacock, and Kenny King and Thomas Lott. I mean, you talk about a top 100 list. They had every known five-star athlete out of Dallas Fort Worth was playing for Oklahoma.
Dang. And
And
then
when they showed up
wasn't
for Kansas,
Barry
they had
Sanders on that
Brandon Clark.
squad too with Billy Sims?
Well, when Marcus Dupree got signed, they wondered why he signed with Oklahoma. And 30 for 30 even went into that. Is that the Sooners sent a guy and basically stayed in the mobile home that his mom lived in until signing day, so no other team could sign him. Because Texas, he was supposed to commit to Texas.
Mm. Billy Dupree, man.
And
Sit.
she wound up having a new house that the year he played for the Sooners. She was in a new house. She was no longer in a mobile home.
That's crazy. I'm not quite sure what they're gonna do with Balmer. Again, they might just give him a slap on the wrist. Kawhi, I think I don't know how many more years. He probably got 2 or 3 more years to play, depending on how well he can keep himself healthy. And that's been a question for the last 6 years. So I'm not quite sure. It's an interesting conversation when it comes to what they're doing under the table. I'm not quite sure how far this is going to go in regards to other teams because I'm pretty sure if the FBI wants to make an example of something, they're going to start with one of the top teams, and the Clippers. I wouldn't consider them that much of a top team, but they're very noticeable being in LA. Anywho, it's been quite a show, man. I appreciate you coming on and taking time out of your day, Boogie Bob, to be one of my favorite co-hosts. Being always available, man. We're gonna close out. Tell the people where they can find you at social media wise and give them your handles, man, so they can catch up with you.
Well, down there's my handle, Boogie Bob, and Swish for Real up there in the corner. So subscribe, like, comment, press the button, and help us grow the show.
Absolutely. And anything like always comment, share the videos, and I know they're kind of long, about an hour and 30 minutes for the most part, but you can always fast forward it, figure out what you want to listen to. And it's always detailed in the description what we're talking about, so you can find that and just talk about it, man. Share it. If you have some conversation you want us to talk about, shoot us a message, leave us a comment, and we'll definitely add it to the show, man. We'll talk about it. Anything else, Bob? We're good on your end?
Everybody just have a blessed and wonderful weekend.
Facts. And if you guys want to see me, I'm always here on Swish for Real, man. It's a great show, like Bob said. I enjoy it. The conversation is always real. Bob comes up with some great topics. I try to add in my little 2 cents to the topics. So we kind of keep it grinding. If you want to see me on the social media streets, you can find me on X, Mikhail Lampkin, poet.director, and then also my other channel on YouTube is Mikhail Lampkin, poet.director, and you can see the film that I just did in July. So let me know what you think on the film, man. But again, it's been a great show, Boogie Bob. I know I got, we talked about it earlier. I got a little grandson back there waiting for me to come out there and play with him. So we're going to cut it off today, man. You guys have a great weekend. Swish for Real. We are out, baby. Have a good one.